Okay, welcome everyone to the first year of Friday Parsha Powerup with Buns. I made a little intro. I'll send it out on WhatsApp. But yeah, this week's Parsha is Parshas Kedoshim. It's probably the easiest week for me to start off such a podcast, such a shir, because it's got so many mitzvahs and so many very practical and relevant mitzvahs and so many lessons to be learned from that literally if we just lived our lives according to the lessons that are in this week's parasha, our entire lives will be literally uplifted. In fact, we'll get to it, but one of the mitzvahs v'aftarecha kamoicha is loving your neighbor like you love yourself. V'aftarecha kamoicha, loving your neighbor like you love yourself. And we know Rabbi Akiva said that this is a big rule in the Torah. Maybe we'll have a little bit more of that in a couple minutes. Anyways, Parshas Kedoshim, the first mitzvah that we have in Parshas Kedoshim is to be holy. And what does that mean, to be holy? What does it mean to be holy? Holy sounds like some little airy-fairy, right? Be holy. So the way I understand it, Kadosh comes from the word of separate. So the idea is that you separate yourselves. What are you separating yourselves from? You're separating yourselves from worldly matters, as it were. Not to say that you don't participate in worldly matters. Of course, we eat buns, and it's a mitzvah to eat buns. And when we eat buns, it's something uplifting, because we're doing it with the right intentions. Because the buns are something that are going to come and help us in our learning, etc. So that's definitely part of holiness. But we're doing it for more of a spiritual reason, more of a reason of coming closer to Hashem, or with a meditated reason, as opposed to just because of animal impulses. That's the way I understand it, is that being holy, when it's not, and we shouldn't just go with our animalistic part to us, but rather we should become uplifted people. If you think about a Buddha, so a Buddha is someone who's, I guess, is more spiritual when we think about someone like that. I wouldn't call him holy. There's a lot of things that part of the Buddhism that's probably very selfish about them. Staying away from all family just in order to have clear mind, whatever it is. But the point is that spirituality, and they're separate because they're separating themselves from more of the worldly, from worldly matters. But that's not what we over here. We're saying that you can engage in worldly matters, but the idea is that you're meant to do it for an uplifted purpose. That is, in fact, so that's the first mitzvah of the Torah, of the parasha. What's interesting is after it says be holy, the next mitzvah is a person should fear their mother and father. Right? Why does it say fear? A person, their mother and father should fear. Right? It's not in those days. They didn't stick feminine before male and male. Right? In fact, if by the Torah, by honoring your parents, it says honor your father and mother. So they say because a person, it's a person it's much easier. It's much easier to fear your father. So therefore, the first thing it says is fear your mother, because it's a much harder. It's more natural for a person to fear their father, because of the way the Torah, the Gemara says, because he teaches you Torah. It's just also we can all understand that a person is much more natural to fear your father. Therefore, it says fear your mother. Now, just to point out, the fear over here that we're talking about is not that you're meant to be petrified that they're going to hit you with a stick. God forbid, that's abuse. The Torah doesn't try to promote that a person that you're meant to be petrified of your parents. When we say fear, it means revere. You're meant to appreciate who your parents are, and through that you're going to come to reverence. But what I'm finding very interesting over here is that after we say be holy, the first mitzvah that we say is fear your parents. Right? So that is what I'm coming to say, is that being holy doesn't mean being spiritual. It means being an uplifted human being, not to be someone who's animalistic and that just goes after your impulse. That is point number one. Point number two, I'll just point out, continue on in the parasha. It says in Yud Tes Yud Gimel, the 9th parak, 13th sentence, it says that a person shouldn't delay the wages of his worker. Right? If you have a worker, you're meant to pay him immediately. So this actually applies a lot in South Africa. We think like, we don't have workers. but in fact we do, because we have cleaners, we have helpers at home. So there's actually a story, another example. This is a wild example. Ramosha Tversky unfortunately passed away in the Haranov massacre. But he was one time went to a barber with him and his son, and all of us, usually what do you do at the end after you and your son go to the barber? So you pay after the second person, that's when you pay the barber. While this barber was in the middle of giving his son a haircut, Moshe Tversky quickly took out money and gave it to the barber. So the barber's like, "Wow, what's this?" No, he says, "No, because I've been looking out the whole time, and I see that it's nearly sunset, and a person's not meant to delay the wages. You're meant to be paying on the same day that the person worked for you. Meant to be paying on the same day, and I wanted to, and I don't want to be over that. Right? I want to make sure to pay you in time." So, okay, in terms of the halachas of that, it's of course it's very complex. Not for the scope of what we're trying to do here, but the idea is that a person is meant to always pay their helpers or their workers on time. Next, one second. Next idea is we've got the mitzvah of Afterecha Kamocha. There's a lot in this Parshas, it's jam-packed. I'm not even getting through half of what I planned to say. We've got the mitzvah of Afterecha Kamocha. This, Rabbi, that's on the 19th chapter, 18th sentence. And it says, don't take revenge, don't bear a grudge, and you should love your neighbor like you love yourself. I am Hashem. So first of all, our rabbis point out that it's incredible the level, what the Torah expects from you. Is that if somebody does something bad to you, right? So first of all, don't take revenge. Second of all, don't bear a grudge. And not only that, even though this person did something bad to you, you're still meant to love your neighbor like you love yourself, right? It's a very powerful thing. It just shows what the Torah expects of you, how uplifted the Torah expects you to be, how much the Torah believes in you. That not only that you're not meant to, earlier it says don't even hate them, right? No, don't hate them. Don't take revenge. Right? They stole something from you, or okay, stealing they have to repay. But if they did something, they slighted you in some way, do not take revenge. And then next, even if you're not going to take revenge, if they come to borrow something from you, don't make any mention of it, the fact that they did something bad to you. And not only that, you must love them like you love yourself. Not only that you should love them, but you should love them like you love yourself. Just shows how much the Torah believes in us and expects of us. But what's a different powerful idea that's over here is that Rabbi Akiva says that loving your neighbor like you love yourself is a big rule in the Torah. And in fact, there was some person that wanted to convert, and they came up to Hillel, and they said, Hillel, teach me all the Torah while I stand on one foot. And Hillel said this, he said, love your neighbor like you love yourself. That which you don't want to be done bad to you, do not do to others. And so the question is, there's tons of mitzvahs in the Torah. How can you tell me that this is a big rule in the Torah? Right? That's only one side of the commandments. We know we've got mitzvahs between us and Hashem, and we've got mitzvahs between us and our friend. That only covers the part of between us and our friend. It doesn't cover the mitzvahs of between us and Hashem. So it's a very powerful idea that could be said over here, is that who's the Re'echa that we're talking about? Who's the friend that we're talking about over here? It's our best friend. It's Hashem. If you think about the definition of a friend is someone there that's always there for you, always there to assist you, that loves you, you know, that you can bank on him, spend time with even. So that's Hashem. So that which you wouldn't do, love your neighbor like you love yourself, that which you wouldn't want to be done to your friend, right? Don't do that which you wouldn't like to be done to yourself, don't do to your friend. Would you like it if your friend didn't listen to you? Right? If you asked your friend, if you did so much good to your friend and you just ask him a small thing here and there, would you appreciate that he didn't listen to you? Right? And Hashem, he's our best friend, he's constantly there for us, he's so dependent on us. And even those things that he does ask us to do is only for our benefit. Right? So love your neighbor like you love yourself, love Hashem like you love yourself. Another, just last point is says, love your neighbor like you love yourself, it's very difficult. How do you love your neighbor like you love yourself? It's natural to love yourself. It's not natural to love your neighbor, right? So the idea would be to say is the same way that you've got imperfections. Sorry, Greg. Sorry, you guys have imperfections, right? You guys have imperfections, right? But you still love yourselves. And I've got imperfections. I still love myself. So why just because our friend has imperfections do we all of a sudden not love them, right? So the idea would be to say love your neighbor even despite the fact he has imperfections, like you love yourself, because you love yourself despite the fact that you have imperfections.